Thank you for being here. I'm Mary Yanez, Director of the Senior Adult Program at the El Paso Community College. It's good to have you all. We have an interesting show planned out for you. You can imagine the information that we share. We'd like to highlight things that will help families, that helps families to deal with legal issues. We're also going to talk a little bit later on with some other guests to talk about services, housing, and other kind of topics, assisted living. But right now, I'd like to introduce Bob Warach and Magda Soto, who are the Warach and
Warach, Soto and Associates.
Warach, Soto and Associates. I wanted to get that right.
And we thank you.
Well, thank you for being here. You have some interesting topics to talk about, the Ladybird deed and some other things. But, you know, I get a lot of calls when we talk about these topics. So where do we begin and who's going to take it from the beginning? I do want to say, Bob, you're not a stranger to the show because you've hosted for me.
Right.
You've been my backup in years past. You also have done some legal shows dealing with some legal issues and providing information. So thank you for bringing Magda too. This is the second time you've been here.
Magda's terrific.
So.
And she's been here before,
Uh-huh.
and we really enjoy doing it. I'm just going to jump in and start, and then when you ask the really hard questions, I'm going to turn it over to Magda. So
That's what men do.
what we thought we'd talk about today, and we've mentioned it in previous shows, there's a Ladybird deed. There's a document called a Ladybird deed. There's a document called a transfer on death deed, and Magda will talk about the slight differences between the two and how you kind of weigh which one is more appropriate. And all of that has to do with probate assets and non-probate assets. And then very importantly, we'll talk about something, the acronym is MERP, and Magda will explain what that is also. It's, and I'll shut up in a minute, but it's interesting how real estate and probate all fit together. And that's one of the reasons that, at least in our practice, all we do is probate, real estate, guardianship, and mental health. And I don't know if you know, but Magda is one of the ad litems down at the psychiatric center. So periodically she goes down there and actually represents the patients to make sure that their rights are being not being abridged, and maybe we could do a show on that later sometime too.
Absolutely.
I
I think that'd be good.
Okay.
But why don't we let Magda start talking about the differences between the documents?
Okay, go ahead.
Sure, and I think we get a lot of questions in our office. I don't want my children to worry about probate. Probate is scary, probate is expensive. I heard on TV to get a trust. And I think a good thing that was actually started, and I think it's a great thing for our actually community,
Yes.
is a Ladybird deed. And I think there's a big question, or big debate even with attorneys, which one is better?
Yes.
We've done a survey, well, very informal Facebook survey around the attorneys, and it was, oddly enough, I think there were 95% of attorneys who practice in this area who said Ladybird deed was the way to go. Which is an interesting thing because it depends really on which area you're talking about. I think real estate attorneys kind of lean towards a transfer on death deed. Elder law attorneys lean towards the Ladybird deed.
Okay.
And I think there's some benefits to Ladybird deed. What a Ladybird deed is, of course, is it's simply saying, this is my house, but when I pass away, it's going to pass to whoever I decide automatically. It's kind of like leaving a POD like you would on a bank account. Your children just have to show a death certificate. Some of the benefits of a Ladybird deed is one, of course, we don't have to deal with probate. That's a big thing, is I have now designated this one asset where it's out of probate. Two, I don't have to deal with Medicaid payback in case I do need Medicaid, which is a big thing. Another nice thing about Ladybird deed is sometimes we have son, daughter, and I want to leave my daughter 70% of the property. And I want to leave my son 30%. With the Ladybird deed, you can do that.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, so it's kind
I'm
of
learning something every time you come.
the those are some of the benefits with the Ladybird deed. With the transfer on death deed, it's very similar in it's taking the house out of probate. I'm leaving a beneficiary, but it has to be equal. So if I have son and daughter, then they have to get 50-50.
Okay.
I just learned that.
And that is, you're learning every day from Magda, and that would be the transfer upon death.
Transfer on
That
death,
has to be, yeah.
Yes, has to be.
But the other thing, and I think you told me this the other day, you explained it to me, on a transfer on death deed, you can have, and I'll explain this term in a minute, you can have some testamentary language in there that you don't have in the Ladybird deed, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So you can definitely, in your transfer on death deed, you can leave alternate beneficiaries. That is a plus with the transfer on death deed. So if I leave it to my daughter in case she passes away, I would like so-and-so to take their place.
A grandchild. or
Yes,
someone. Yeah.
yes, which is definitely a plus. And that's where I think you have to weigh your options. I think if
And
they're,
when clients come to you, you discuss these options, and that's what's so important. It isn't just one size fits all, or one
Right.
process.
Oh, no.
no. I think that's the biggest thing. Everybody's different. Definitely not one size fits all. I think if there's any drawback with the transfer on death deed is you always have to be careful with creditors.
Yeah.
Because with the Ladybird deed, your house goes free and clear. There's no creditors to attach to it. Transfer on death, the creditors can actually come in. So
Get paid first.
yes.
But not MERP,
Not MERP.
Right.
Because MERP will only attach to
estate assets.
exactly
And
probate
what does
assets.
MERP stand for? I know we were used to acronyms like in
Right.
the military, but because we got bigs over here, Fort Bliss. Tell me about MERP.
So MERP is the Medicaid Estate Recovery Program.
Okay.
So if we are receiving Medicaid, usually we think of it with a nursing home.
Yes.
So our loved one has to go into a nursing home and Medicaid is going to pay. There is a clause stating that they're not going to take your home, anything right now, but when you pass away, they can utilize the home as a creditor to pay back any of the services that were provided.
Yes. And I think in the past it hadn't been done. They had not come after,
The house.
the
Right.
house. But we always have to make sure that.
Well, I think what happened was Medicaid said if we're going to pay for medical costs,
Expensive medical
and then you die and you have an asset that we can make a claim against to get repaid, we want to do it. And I do think that there was a pushback in Texas, but this is the Fed said you have to do it. So this is just another way to protect the homestead. I want to jump in with something here because a lot of people come into our office and they say, I want to trust without knowing anything about it. But what they've heard is a trust will avoid probate. And that's not a bad thing, but it's like the tail wagging the dog. You really shouldn't get a trust just to avoid probate because we have a very expedited probate system here and relatively inexpensive. I mean, nothing you do, unfortunately, in the legal system is cheap, but compared to other states, we really have a very quick, I mean, what do you think, a probate?
And you go to the judges, right? There's probate judges.
Right, there are
Yes.
probate judges. Takes 2 to 3 months?
I think 2 to 3 months.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
exactly.
so it's not, people think it takes years.
And you really have a timeline. You have 2 years to be able to do
4.
4 years.
To probate a will.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
But so my point is, and then I'll of course give it back to Magda, but my point is when you talk to them, because you were asking one size fits all, absolutely does not. So somebody comes in and says, I want a trust, it's going to avoid probate. Trusts are not inexpensive to draw up either. And then you have to put all your property in the trust. So then when you die, it's there and can be distributed. And this is getting a little complicated because if you don't, you have to have what's called a pour-over will that makes the trust your beneficiary, and you have to probate that pour-over will if you haven't put all your property in the trust. So it's really, you don't walk in and say, somebody can't walk in and say, I want a trust, and bingo, you do it. But you can sometimes attain the same, if they come in and say, I don't want to probate, that's the reason I want a trust. Do a Ladybird, You don't have to probate for the house. Put beneficiaries, Magda mentioned it, POD, on all your accounts. You don't have to probate for that. And what do you have left? Maybe a car,
Paid upon death?
Yes.
pay on death.
Pay on death.
Yeah. Or the
on
TOD,
death.
transfer on death.
Oh,
So there are ways to avoid probate without setting up a whole trust and going to that expense.
gosh. And you guys have studied this, you've learned the laws, you know what you're doing, in your law firm. It's awesome to have people to come and explain to our public, our viewers, if there's something that you can help them with in making some important decisions, right?
And some of the stuff we have to remember is when somebody comes in and talks to us, we talk about this all the time.
Yes.
So we have to kind of slow down,
Yeah.
give them their options, explain if you do this, then this. If you do this, then this.
Okay.
And then they have to ultimately come up with a decision as to what best suits them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that is a big thing because I think most people come in because they hear trust, and that's oddly the most expensive option. And there's so many other things that we can do because most people, their biggest asset is their home. But to kind of piggyback off what Bob said, we do want to make beneficiaries off of everything. Your bank accounts, life insurance, your house, doing a Ladybird deed or transfer on death deed. The vehicle, the same thing. There's a transfer on death for a motor vehicle. I don't think enough people take advantage of these things where you can even pass your vehicle on, where it's outside of probate, and you're making it where everything really is non-probate.
And so do we want to make it easy for families to be able to transfer their property or the inheritance or give it to the kids or the grandkids or whoever, or to a neighbor, who knows, a caregiver So we want to make it easy. So we have to think about these things in advance, and it's planning. It's about planning.
Well, it's about trying to figure out what is best for you.
Yeah, we have a couple of minutes left, and so I know there's questions out there that I haven't asked. Is there something that you want to talk about in these last minutes? And also I want you to give your contact information so that people can call you and ask you, how to get a hold of you.
I think the biggest thing is don't be afraid. Definitely talk to somebody because there are things that can be done. Don't be afraid of Medicaid. Don't be afraid of probate. And talk to an attorney, talk to a professional. And I think the law is always changing and take advantage of what is there. Again, Ladybird deeds are a big thing. I encourage people definitely talk to an attorney and reach out to them.
Very good.
And that was perfect what she said. Call in. It's not like it used to be where you walk into an attorney's office and you'd be billed just for that. We basically, this is the generalization, basically we don't charge for advice. Somebody wants to come in and they're talking about a will and we're giving them all these options. There's no specific fee. There's no fee for that. We're trying to get to the point of doing what they need. Then we'll tell them what the fee is, and if they want to go forward, fine, but they've gotten all the information for nothing.
I would probably walk in and say, I don't know what I need.
And we
Can
would
you
talk
help
to,
me?
yes. And that's what we do.
I don't know where to go with this, and
Absolutely.
I have an idea of what I want to do, but I don't know which plan or which process would be the best for me. So,
Yeah.
what is your phone number and your contact information and where you're located?
Of course, our number is 915-779-3619. We are at 7300 Viscount, Suite 101. Our email is lawoffice@rwarch.com.
And I love calling your office because your staff is wonderful.
Oh.
They are
They
so
are
They are
good
really
staff.
good.
They are
awesome.
They are so
Really,
good and so
really.
efficient.
Let me just say the thing again. It's law office at RWARACH. I think you forgot. the
Did
second
I
A.
forget your A?
Everybody does.
I know the work. Bob, thank you for being here and bringing Magda. And Magda, you're wonderful. You are professionals. You advise people so they can do the best thing for themselves when it comes to legal issues.
And you can tell how much we like being here.
Yeah, you do. And we want you to come back. What other topics will you have? And I've got to wrap it up, otherwise I get cut off.
I would like to talk a little bit, not now, but one day about trust, because there are some reasons to have them.
Okay.
And I would like to underline that you can save yourself a lot of grief if you just call a lawyer and say, I have a question.
Very good. Thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
here.
Thank you.
And we have another guest waiting, so you will be back.
Here at EPCC, we encourage you to keep wearing your mask and practicing social distance. Please be mindful of others. I take care of you, you take care of me. Let's stay safe. Welcome back, Tejanos. Have a wonderful semester.
Well, thank you for staying with us here on Mature Living. I'm Mary Yanez, Director of the Senior Adult Program, and you will be able to watch this program on EPCC TV on YouTube. And so if you don't catch something right away, or you don't get a phone number, you don't have a pen, that's okay. You'll be able to watch it. So we've invited two sisters. We have Liz Lopez, who's the administrator for Vita Pass Caregiver Services, and of course your sister, Judith Lopez. Thank you for being here, and you've been here before, right?
Thank you for having us.
Liz, yes.
Mary.
Remind me about your services. I think you've expanded a little bit, I'm not sure. But Vita Pass is the caregiver aspect of your organization. And then you have now Desert Star Apartments, which are private apartments that, that do have some caregiving there,
Correct.
So tell me a little bit how you're going to introduce to our audience what you do.
Yes, thank you, Mary. Thank you for having us again. And yes, we do have a caregiver agency, Vital Personal Assistance Services, that helps, it's an at-home program that helps with your everyday living activities. Judith is the manager there for Vital Personal Assistance Services. She will give you a little bit more information about that. And now we have opened up Desert Star, which is privately owned apartments that also help with a lot of different aspects of, everyday living, as well as respite care and all of that. But we'll go ahead and explain to you first.
So it's kind of like the Desert Star is like assisted living.
Pretty much, it works like that, yes.
Per se, yes.
Okay, and then we'll also talk about how people qualify, how they get a hold of you, what referrals you get, and
Yes.
so we'll talk about Vital Pass.
Vital Pass, yes, ma'am. So first, Vital Pass is a caregiver agency. So what we do is we send caregivers to your home, and it is, you can get paid from the state, and we also have private pay. So we do have different programs that we accept, and it's very easy to qualify. We take you step by step from the beginning to the end. And then, of course, we do provide, and we provide all the information so you won't have any problems with any type of properties or anything like that. And it was very interesting to learn what we did about
Yeah, we
the
just heard an
attorneys, yes,
interview
earlier.
with Bob Warach and,
Yes, they helped
Magda
us a lot.
Soto, and they're our legal guests that come and give us great information.
Yes, so we help you through the process, and we do go to your home, we do an interview so we can figure out how you can qualify, and then we help you that way. That's part of Vital Pass, but those are caregivers that go to your home, and it is a program that's about anywhere from 2 to 5 hours a day, and it is, like Liz mentioned, activities of daily living.
And how do you get referrals, or do you get referrals sometimes, and then some people may just hear about you and might call you?
Yes, so we get our referrals from the doctor because everything is based off of a doctor, it's a practitioner statement that it needs to be, it's part of the application to comply with.
It's part of their care, huh?
Yes, ma'am.
And follow up after they leave the hospital.
Right,
Correct.
they need to justify, oh, this person needs the services because of this. But, and of course, that's for state paid services, okay? Keep in mind, we do offer private pay, like Judith mentioned, and post-op, and that's,
Yes.
overnight care as well. And I would like to mention that we just, it's been like I think 3 months that we actually are working now with APS, and only 2 agencies here in El Paso, ourselves and another one, have the contract with
For
APS.
Adult Protective
Yes,
Services.
correct.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
that kind of shows that you're credentialed. You
Yes, ma'am.
have, you do a great business
Yes.
model.
Yes, yes.
And so you're sisters, and it's a family business.
Yes.
I really like that. Locally owned and operated. So tell me about, I see here private apartments, assisted living, 24/7 care, and also caregiver respite for respite care.
Right, Mary. So this property, this business, Desert Star, we did see the need for this. There's a lot of need out there. And this property in particular, it's 4 apartment units, okay, that we have. We do have other properties, but this one in particular, it's 4 apartment units, and we do have contracts with the hospital, where the hospital will send us patients that need probably a 30-day rehabilitation. Okay, so what we do there is we have staff 24/7. We do have, it's a fully furnished apartment with hospital beds. Everything is handicapped. We remodeled it completely to be handicap accessible. We do have an outside area, a covered patio. It's beautiful. And like I said, we do have cooking there. We provide everything, okay, bathing. And of course, home health is also allowed to come in and to service the patients as well. So in regards to that, we do receive patients that with Medicare, that they have respite care. So for respite care, the way it works is they cover 5 days. Okay, so we welcome them for those 5 days while the family rests or they go out of town, whatever the need
Sometimes
is.
that happens,
Yes.
and there's a great need
Yes.
to have someone. Where can I take my
Exactly.
elderly grandma,
Yes,
or to
correct.
take care of her while we're going
Yes.
to leave town,
Yes, and we're very fortunate. We're very involved. We also do have cameras, and so far, all the families, all the patients that have been there, they're very happy with us,
Ooh.
and you can tell right away, so that's something that we
Take pride
truly
in.
take pride in. Yes, ma'am.
And so more and more, there's 10,000 people turning 65 every month. I don't know if it's every day or whatever throughout the country. So more and more, these kinds of apartments, these kinds of housing facilities are going to be popping up. And in El Paso, I think we have a great number of elders. In
Yes.
maybe over 68,000
Yes.
elders
ma'am.
that are 65 and older.
And that now that you mentioned that, Ms. Murray, just keep in mind it's you don't necessarily have to be 65 to qualify, okay? And it's you can be. I believe we accept as young as. Well, for the assisted, or for the facility, it's any age.
Okay.
But I mean, in regards to the caregiver agency, we can accept any age. I mean, as kids all the way to that
children all the
that
way
need
to
the services.
Where is the Desert Star Apartments located?
Desert Star is located at 601 Lafayette Drive in El Paso, Texas 79915. We are Yarborough and Lafayette, or by North Loop, but that's where we're at.
Can people go and tour and get a
Yeah,
little tour or visit?
Definitely.
To see
They would give us a call first, so we could, of course, be there and give them a tour. We do have some apartments that, no patients are in there, and maybe that's the one we can see them, to give the other patients privacy.
Yes,
But yes, ma'am, of course, they can definitely call us.
Is there some other service that we haven't mentioned yet that you all provide? And how long have you all been in business?
So we've been in business with Vital Pass since 2017. So it's grown a lot. We're
Yes.
very blessed. And as far as other services, like we have post-op, because there is some people or some clients, patients that need services right after a certain type of surgery. And there is also, like we had said before, the caregiver services, whether it's from the state or whether it's private. We have overnight services. And then we do a bit of transportation when we do as far as our private pay patients, because the other patients, unfortunately, I'm sure for legal matters, we're not allowed to transport them.
Huh?
But other than that, we try and help all around
Very
in
good.
the community. Yes, ma'am.
Anything else, Liz, that you?
No, with that being said, we do, anything. A lot of clients, patients, they call us and they ask for home health. And we don't have home health, but we do work with a lot of home health companies. So we don't just, we don't just, not
Send
help
them
them
away.
out. Exactly. Yes.
Without any references or
Yeah,
referrals.
definitely. Or even if we don't accept the insurance they have, we still reach out to another agency for them and tell them, you know what, somebody's going to call you, and So, but anyhow, we try our best all around.
So, even if it's not something that they're looking for that you don't provide, you are resources.
Yes.
For any family, because they find themselves at a loss or they don't know who to turn to. Can they always call on you just to ask a question
Yes.
about your services,
Yes,
or
and we
whether
do.
you offer it or not?
Yes.
I'm
Yes,
sure
ma'am.
that you will be glad to talk to any family so that we can help everybody. Let's give your phone number. I think that's important.
Yes, and like you said, anytime they can reach 915-270-1919, and we answer 24/7. I mean, we have clients 24/7, so our phone is always on.
And where are your offices?
Our office is located at 5340 El Paso Drive. It's Suite C in El Paso, Texas, 79905. It's right there by Fox Plaza.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
El Paso Drive. We're on the corner.
Okay, very good. So we've given your phone number. Do you have an email as well? Sometimes people are searching for emails.
Yes, we have actually an email for Desert Star Properties, which is desertstarprop.llc@gmail. And then we, of course, have the one for Vital Pass, which is vitalpassllc@gmail.
Wow. You know, we're always looking to provide information to the community about all different types of topics and services that are available, because we feel that mature living and the senior adult program is also a resource for families that are wanting to get services for their elders.
Like we mentioned earlier, if there's any doubts, you never know. We might not be able to service them, but we can reach out, we'll look, even applying just for Medicaid itself, a lot of state programs. A lot of people don't know. A lot of
Yes.
people don't know that there's help out there.
Yes.
And that's what, we try to do.
Liz Lopez, and of course, Judith. I don't know
Yes,
if they call you Judy or Judith, but thank you for being here.
Thank
We've
you.
got to go. This is the last interview for today, and we'll see you all next week. This, of course, you can watch us on YouTube, EPCC TV, Mature Living. Thank you. We'll see you. Bye-bye.